Hey guys, I'm Leo, and for today's video, I'd like to show you how to make Hanabiramochi. This looks like just a normal folded daifuku mochi, but look at this, there is a burdock root inside of it. We never use the burdock root for any wagashi other than Hanabiramochi. As mentioned in my other videos, wagashi means Japanese desserts. Actually, this is a very typical wagashi eaten in January, but they say it is known only in the field of tea ceremony. Hanabiramochi has a special meaning that originated from the Japanese emperor, and I will talk about meaning of using burdock and more details later in this video. After watching this video, you will be able to celebrate your new year with a tasty, new, and meaningful dessert. So please watch to the end. Okay, let's get started. First of all, let us see the inside of the wagashi. It has a folded white outer skin called gyuhi. Gyuhi is sweet mochi dough, and inside of it there are sweetened burdock roots, a pink square shaped gyuhi, and Shiroan mixed with miso. Let me explain how to make each of them. The first one is sweetened burdock. Some key points to make nice sweetened burdock are to simmer it long to soften and to keep the color light. Please prepare a stick of burdock, 3 ounces of sugar, and 3 fluid ounces of water. I think you can find burdock at any Japanese or Asian grocery store near you. Slice the burdock lengthwise into 5 inches pieces. Then, peel the skin with a steel brush. You can peel it with a normal peeler, but if you do, some of the burdock will be removed along with the skin. Then, put the peeled burdock into water with some vinegar and soak for 10 minutes so that the astringent component will be dissolved and you can keep the whitish color of the burdock. You can skip this soaking process if you do not mind the color so much. Next, put some water and the burdock in the pot and heat it up on high heat. In this heating process, you want to soften the burdock enough to be able to bite into it easily, so that people can enjoy the nice, harmonious textures of mochi and burdock in the Hanabiramochi. This means that you will need to simmer it for about 2 hours. As time passes, after it starts boiling, the color of the boiling water will get darker. This water contains the astringent component and will make the burdock color darker if you keep boiling it in that water. So, you want to get rid of that water and boil it again with new water. You need to do that a couple of times. But as I said earlier, if you don't care about the color of the burdock, you can skip this process and keep simmering for 2 hours with the same water. But I know 2 hours sounds very long for people who are busy. You can save time by cutting the burdock into smaller sizes first and next simmering them. It takes only 30 minutes to soften burdock at this size. But I personally recommend that you boil first and cut after. I'll explain the reason later in this video. After 2 hours have passed, it will look like this. Transfer the boiled burdock into cold water to cool it down. Then, dry it up with a sheet of paper towel. Cut in half and cut again until you have 1/8 thick pieces. Then, remove the core part so that it looks nice. If you have thinner burdock, cutting it into quarter sizes would be enough. Just adjust accordingly to the size of your burdock. Now, I will explain why it may be better to boil it first and cut after. As you can see, The content gets darker if you boil the cut burdock. I prefer the color of the burdock to be whitish. Next, sweeten the boiled burdock. Put the measured sugar and the water in a pot and heat it on medium heat. As the sugar melts, add the burdock into it and boil it for a couple of minutes. Then, turn it off and leave it for over 6 hours. After that, some water will have come out of the burdock. So, take the burdock out and boil the water until it becomes a thick syrup. Then, after turning the heat off, put the burdock back and leave it for another 6 hours. Then, you will finish making sweetened burdock. But if you don't mind the sweetness of the burdock, you can skip the reheating process. After another 6 hours have passed, dry the burdock with a piece of paper towel and cut it into 4 inches each. Making the sweetened burdock is done. Okay, next, let's make miso-an. It is very easy. Just mix shiroan with miso. Shiroan is a sweet white bean paste. I think you can get it at Japanese or Asian markets. Miso is a Japanese fermented food made from mainly soybeans and rice. There are many different kinds of miso. You need white miso to make miso-an. As white miso tastes sweeter and less salty than other miso types. It also goes well with shiroan. Mix shiroan with 10 to 20% of white miso. The percentage of white miso depends on how salty the white miso that you have is. If it is very salty, you should put less. But if it is not so salty, you can put more white miso. The mixed shiroan looks like this. Then divide it into half ounces each and make them oval shaped. If you won't use it right away, please wrap it so that it doesn't dry out and put it in the fridge. Okay, next, let's make diamond-shaped pink gyuhi. Gyuhi is sweet mochi dough. Today, I will use beads to color the gyuhi to pink. Mix the measured shiratamako, sugar, and water in a small pan and let it sit a little to absorb water. During this time, prepare the beet juice. Grate the beets and squeeze it. You will see vivid red juice come out. This amount is enough. But if you want more juice, add a little bit of water to the grated beets and squeeze again. And put starch in a big pan or on a cutting board. We are gonna use it later. Now, heat the shiratamako, sugar, and the water mixture on medium heat. Keep mixing it with a spatula. The mixture doesn't change right away, but as it gets hotter, it will become sticky. Keep mixing to prevent it from burning. As you can see, the gyuhi dough becomes transparent and sticky, which means it is finished. Then, put the beet juice in it. Look at that! It turned pink and looks beautiful. Turn off the heat. Put the pink gyuhi on top of the starch on the cutting board prepared earlier. Then sprinkle starch over it to cover the whole surface of the gyuhi. It is too soft right after heating and will stick to a knife easily, so let it cool down for about 5 minutes. Then flatten it with a rolling pin like this until it is 0.1 inches thick, and if possible, roll it up into a square shape since we will be cutting smaller square pieces from it. Cut the edge of the extended gyuhi, then cut it into many 1-inch square pieces. Then, next, make the white outer skin of the gyuhi dough. The portion of Shiratamako, sugar, and water mixture is the same as the pink gyuhi. Repeat the same heating process, and put the heated gyuhi on top of the starch on the cutting board. Then, sprinkle starch over it to cover the whole surface of the gyuhi. Let it cool down for about 5 minutes as well. Then, cut it into 1-ounce pieces. I prefer to cut it with my fingers like this. Use your thumb and pointer fingers to tear it off. To prevent it from sticking to your hands, put enough starch on the fingers. After cutting it off, bring the corner to the center and pinch the center. Then flip it over and roll it up to make a nice ball. The finished one looks like this. But if it looks too difficult for you, you can use a 2.5-inch round patisserie cutter to get gyuhi pieces like this. Then roll it up into an oval shape with a rolling pin like this. Before putting them together, remove excess starch with a brush like this. Put a square of pink gyuhi on top of the white gyuhi. Put a sweetened burdock in the middle of the gyuhi. Then, put a piece of Miso-an below the sweetened burdock like so. Then, fold the back edge to the front. Tada! It is complete! It looks very nice and tasty. Okay, so let me repeat the important points of making Hanabiramochi. First, soften the burdock and keep its natural white color. Second, let the gyuhi dough cool down and harden to some extent before working with it. Third, adjust the ratio of miso to shiroan according to the saltiness of the miso. Okay, this wagashi is called Hanabiramochi, which means flower petal in Japanese. The story of this tea sweet goes back to the late 8th to 12th century in Japan during the Heian period. The Heian period is named after the capital city of Heian-kyo, which is now modern Kyoto. It was the official capital of Japan for over 1,000 years. It was a period in Japan's history when Buddhism, Taoism, and other Chinese influences were at their height. This period was also considered the peak of the Japanese imperial court and is noted for its art, especially poetry and literature. At the time of the imperial court, there was an event called the tooth-setting ceremony. This ceremony was held to wish for longevity by eating foods like a diamond-shaped rice cake placed on top of another rice cake, and salted and pressed ayu fish placed on top of that. Ancient people believed that good oral health leads to the good health. It became simpler. The royal family ate zoni-mochi soup in the palace, in which pressed fish and miso are wrapped in rice cakes. Eventually, the burdock root replaced the fish and was served in the form of sweets. In the late 1800s, during the Meiji era, Ura-senke, one of the 3 senke tea schools, was permitted to serve this imperial confection at the first tea ceremony of the year. So now, it has become a New Year's special treat produced by many Japanese confectionery shops throughout the country. I hope you will enjoy this special treat while thinking back to the Heian period of Japan. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed learning Japanese culture with a focus on cooking. I'm gonna upload more videos about not only cooking but also about tea ceremony and other Japanese cultural traditions once a week. So please look forward to it. Send your comments if you'd like to see or learn more about different subjects. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe to the channel. Okay, see you again soon. Bye!